What do you see commonly people lose track of?
Their confidence.
Why are they losing their confidence?
I think to your point, it often is at a transition point when they're moving up or they want to do something more, even before that transition, when they're thinking about it. And then they're like, wait a minute, do I even have the things I need to do that thing? Which most likely they do. It's just that's when the number one thing that gets in everyone's way, I'm going to suggest, is fear. It's a liar. It magnifies what can go wrong. It minimizes what can go right. But whenever we want to do something new or different, our brain goes, alarm bell, alarm bell, alarm bell. This is dangerous. Don't do it. So people overthink and then underestimate themselves and go into this spiral of, I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Well, welcome back to the Coachful Coaching Leadership Podcast. This is David, and today I am here with a confidence coach named Ann DeLuca. Ann, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. It's Friday. It's sunny. Couldn't ask for more.
Yep. Yeah. A working computer, working mic. You can ask for more.
It's the simple things in life, isn't it?
Yeah. There's always something technical going on with this with the systems. But hey, why don't I give you the floor for 30 seconds to introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah. Ann DeLuca. I'm actually a confidence, mindset, and performance coach, 3-time author, and facilitator of my signature Connect Your Confidence workshops. My goal is to help my clients show up with their best stuff in those situations where it feels like there's no do-over or the stakes are high.
Okay. This probably has a lot to do with some of your previous corporate experience. I could see you spent, maybe 20 plus years, 30 years in some
20.
form of healthcare.
25. Yeah.
25. Yeah, 25 years. You were in the pharmaceutical industry for a number of years. You did some pretty important stuff, high stakes stuff, right? Patient safety, drug surveillance. So that literally is life and death if you get some of that stuff wrong.
Yeah. It's important work, fun work. It was great work.
Yeah. So what made you want to become a confidence and mindset coach?
So I flipped over from pharma to coaching about 9 years ago because it became more about the people as a manager of a department than about the subject matter expertise. So that started my coaching journey. What solidified my niche as confidence, mindset, performance literally was about just after COVID started, or just before I joined Women Leaders in Pharma. They asked me to join to help set up their coaching team. And after COVID started, we had a lot of online events. And at the end of every event, there's about half an hour and you were thrown in a room to network with people. And almost every single time it was one of these, when they found out what I did, they'd lean in and go, I don't know what I'm doing, which is completely untrue. These are educated, capable. But sadly, there was this whole idea that everyone else had it figured out and they didn't. Completely untrue as well. So that became my beacon. That's when I decided that confidence was where I was going to focus.
Yeah. It is interesting when you say everyone else has it figured out except for me. How common that is. I'm making a statement here, right? But you work with you work in women leaders in pharma. There's a lot of executives I'm sure you work with and folks who've been around the block, seen many things in their lives as well as in their professional lives, high stakes situations. But I still find it amazing that it's a lot of times those folks who have somewhat of a chip on their shoulder or of some sort, or just, Bob over there knows everything. And yet, when you talk to Bob over there, they probably have the exact same feeling like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. Yeah.
And I don't know, David, if it's a chip on the shoulder or the higher up you go, the less people you have in your circle. So for the higher up the chain you go, if you're, say, the president of a company, who are your peers anymore? Like you are the boss of the executive team. I've worked literally with a head of a Canadian organization who reached out to me because they didn't feel confident and didn't have the respect of their board. So these people in these positions often feel like they don't have other people to get input from because it's seen in a lot of instances incorrectly that it's a weakness,
Yeah.
which it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You remind me of a conversation I had with some folks recently they're looking to move up the ranks. And one of the things I did, we noticed was, hey, the higher up you get, the less guidance you actually get, because you actually have a lot of autonomy as to how you run your business, if it's being run correctly. You have a lot of autonomy, but with that autonomy comes so much responsibility. And there's no longer that proverbial swivel chair next to a cubicle saying, hey, how do you manage the spreadsheet? Something like that. This is like, I'm trying to transform this company with 100,000 people, and I'm responsible for this within the next 3 quarters. How do you do this?
Right.
There is no one answer for that. And
Yeah.
there's only a handful of people maybe in one company who can help you with that. So I guess that's where you come in, right? Like, helping with some of that, right?
Yep. It's helping people realize that a lot of it is mindset, and also they have way more skills and strengths and capabilities that they give themselves credit for. They often lose track of them. And I think that no matter what they come to coaching for, that to me is the foundation, losing track of the things that you actually have because of all the noise that's gathered in as you move through life. Yeah.
What do you see commonly people lose track of?
Their confidence.
Yeah. And what goes into that? Yeah. Like, what are they losing track of? What part, like, why are they losing their confidence?
I think, to your point, it often is at a transition point when they're moving up or they want to do something more, even before that transition, when they're thinking about it. And then they're like, wait a minute, do I even have the things I need to do that thing? Which most likely they do. It's just that's when the number one thing that gets in everyone's way, I'm going to suggest, is fear. It's a liar. It magnifies what can go wrong. It minimizes what can go right. But whenever we want to do something new or different, our brain goes, alarm bell, alarm bell, alarm bell. This is dangerous. Don't do it. So people overthink and then underestimate themselves and go into this spiral of, I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
How often do you see that creating a form of like analysis paralysis? Because I've seen some of that where very seemingly confident individuals in their current job, and then you try to stretch them, and that's where you see some of the holes in their game, where it's for whatever reason, lack of confidence or ego, whatever it might be, they just can't get out of their own way to move, to stretch in that project or that assignment. And you realize a lot of times they're just not asking for help. They're not asking other people for opinions. They're used to, I should have all the answers because I do my current role very well.
Yeah.
That's something I've noticed. And I'm just curious, what do you notice out there with folks like that?
Well, we like our comfort zones, right?
Comfort zones, yes.
And I'm not suggesting you jump out of it. It's sometimes, as when you describe stretch, I also look at it as someone in a box with their comfort zone. It's just about pushing those walls a bit. It's not even about jumping right out. It's like, okay, I'm going to try this thing. I'm going to put myself out there. But that requires vulnerability. That requires willingness to fail. All of those things that as humans we're taught are not acceptable, especially when you're in the corporate world. Showing your underbelly and the fact that you need help, especially if it's men, because I do have men clients as well, is I would like to suggest more difficult for men, but at the same token, women, when they do that, it's also looked at, oh, she's a woman, that's why she's doing this. It almost sounds like a no-win situation.
So how do you help people that who are at this crossroads, at some sort of transition? They've reached out to you because they know they need help. How do you start helping them, and what steps do you take to start moving in that direction where they can leverage their confidence, leverage the knowledge that they already have?
They have to know where they want to go first and foremost, their intention. And it sounds basic, but if you don't know where you want to go, If you don't know what you want, it's hard to measure. And so with each and every coaching session, they come in with what it is that day. So it could be a conversation they want to have that they're not feeling confident about. It could be as basic as that. Oftentimes, it's also not necessarily what's happening at work. The other things in their life are affecting how they're feeling. So the number one thing as a coach, and I'm guessing maybe you do this too, is establish what is it you want to get out of this session so that you're more resourceful than you came in. And that's how we work through things, because it's sometimes, we start off with a discovery or a questionnaire for a client. And by the time they head into their first session, they're like, I thought it was this that I wanted to work on, but it's actually this.
Yeah.
Not sure if that answered your question at all.
Oh, that absolutely answers the question. I'm curious where the crossroads of like the people you work with who, come in with, this, who require this confidence and mindset shift, and how, how's your previous experiences shape how you work with people?
I'd be a liar if I'd say that it doesn't influence it. I'm a confidence coach for a reason. I think a lot of the work I do, though, is unique in that I can help clients in situations where they get to think about things rather than articulate them. So if I want someone to explore something, it's better sometimes to get them to think about it than articulate it. And that's just basically because the whole time we're talking to another human, we're filtering. It's not a bad thing. It's a human thing, because our only predator is another human. And that part of our brain wants to filter the whole time. So I have to be in connection with David. I have to be in connection with David. When it comes to clients, when they're working on something, it's sometimes easier to ask them to think about it and then do some practices with that so that they can work on the tender spot without me knowing what it is. And it's super effective.
Yeah. What about yourself? How is your confidence?
How's my confidence?
Yeah, how's your confidence? And I'm wondering how did it morph over the years?
How did it morph over the years? Well, particularly in the past 9 years, as I've done so much work, I discovered 3 tools that I needed to work with in order to grow my confidence that I still use today. They are my confidence recipe. So you've led me right there, which is my last book. And the 3 tools that I know to be true for me, so it's not, and they're not unique, are my mindset. If I think I can or think I can't, just like Henry Ford said, it's going to be true. So getting my head in the right space. The fact I mentioned fear already, fear is a liar. And I know also to be true, if I take action quickly, and that action doesn't have to be a huge thing. It could be, okay, hit send on that email, make the phone call, sign up for the course. Then fear goes, the two, in my experience, can't exist. Fear and action can't exist together.
Yeah.
And the third is about trusting myself, trusting my instincts, because I don't know about you, David, but I have a whole crew up here that likes to jump in whenever I want to do something different. And often, if I listen carefully, and this is what I suggest to my clients, is listen. Is that voice even yours? Because chances are it's a parent, a teacher, some other influence in your life, and maybe they've got good advice. The key is to discern, number one, whose voice is it? And number two, if you like that input, great, go with it. And if you realize, oh, that's not what I want to do, then choose your own path. So those are the 3 keys I use to get where I am now and continue to lean on. Because let's face it, no one's confident 100% of the time. I get scared. I don't feel confident. I'm just like everybody else.
Yeah. I love what you said about fear and action don't go together, and how what I found is actually all the time, just doing the thing while the fear is still raw is better than waiting for that fear to go away, because it doesn't go away, and you actually, this is procrastination, right? You just won't do the thing. It's better to just be fearful and take a small step and just do that small step. It doesn't have to be big. Do that small step and get a reaction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've talked a lot on this podcast about that voice that talks to you, that little voice that says you're not good enough and everything.
You only got one?
I think so.
Good for you.
Well, I guess this is the thing. This might sound odd if you haven't done the work to talk to that inner critic, if we were putting a label to it, right? And it can come in many voices, as you're saying. But how do you talk to that inner critic?
My own?
Yeah. How do you address it?
I think the first thing is acknowledging that when I start going down that path is going, wait a minute, is this my voice? Is this me, or is this some old story? Is this, basically some old story, which is attached usually to someone else's voice. And again, it's often from when we're younger, where we're got a parent, a teacher, somebody that comes across in your life that has strong opinions and made an impact on you, and you put a lot of value on that. And it's calling that out. It's calling yourself out, basically. For me, it's calling myself out.
Yeah.
That sometimes.
And it's okay. It's okay. And I think that's the thing is that I've had friends and such who catastrophize. I like to call it that, right? Where it's that voice is like, what if this? What if that? And what if this happens? And then what if? And what if? And what if?
Right.
How do you stop that spiral into such a dark place that many people bring themselves into, of despair, of fearing of just fear of the unknown? And there's a saying, like, what happens in your imagination is way worse than what actually happens in reality.
Yeah.
And that's that mind just swirling and swirling. How do you interrupt that?
I'm big into control what you control and let other things go. There's a great schematic I found years ago, and it's like, it asks the question, are you worried? Because basically that's where things start. The worry, the anxiety, whatever that may be. And if you answer yes, it says, okay, can you do something about this? If the answer is yes, don't worry. If the answer is no, don't worry. Because really, if you focus on what's in your span of control, then that empowers you and takes away the worry. And if you realize that I can't control this, then it's a practice of going, wait, I have to let go of the things I can't control. What a waste of energy. And then maybe that's oversimplifying it. And I'm not suggesting like people with severe anxiety use this as a tool. I'm talking about most of us when we get in that cycle of it's just checking it with that, doing that litmus test, if you will. Can I control this? Can I not control this? And then acting accordingly.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of our worries, and I acknowledge there are, bigger issues out there people have. And it's not, we should never oversimplify it and sweep it to the side. But I think a lot of what happens in our own heads for most of us is garden variety, just worry, right? It's not nothing serious, but it's the accumulation of all those things that will eventually it will impact your health, right? And if it impacts up here, it's going to impact yourself physically as well.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Very much. I worked with a somatic coach for myself last year for 6 months.
And for those who don't know, like what is a somatic coach? I know what it is, but maybe describe it to other folks.
It is really identifying when something comes up, first and foremost, where is it in your body? Because unless you've had an outer body experience, and I say this to my clients all the time, unless you've had one of those, which I'm guessing can happen, every single thing in your life has happened in your body. So if you're talking about something, for example, and you have to articulate something, a feeling or an emotion, noticing where it shows up. And for me, it was usually my chest. Usually my chest. and then identifying, not giving it one blanket label, but really digging and realizing, oh, that's guilt, that's fear, that's sadness, whatever it is. But identifying where things feel in your body are in your body. Your body is a storehouse of information for you. We always default to the head, but really, if we trust our instincts, the information comes in your heart and gut first. I think the science says like nanoseconds before your head gets a hold of it, that gut feeling, that's what I usually get, or a feeling in your chest that has so much information for you.
Yeah. Yeah. For all the folks out there, like I think even as a child we feel this, and we forget, we start ignoring it as an adult. Like you're a child. Remember the first time you had to present in front of your classmates, make a speech, and it's just show and tell, and they try to break it out of you at a young age. Like, hey, let's do some show and tell. Talk about what your favorite toy is, and it's those butterflies in your belly. What you say to the little kids, and you teach little kids. That's okay. It means you're a little bit nervous, and it means you're ready. The first time doing a play, I remember doing that. Like, yeah, butterflies, and I remember the teachers at the time say, "Oh, that's normal. It means it's going to give you energy later, when you're performing." And quite frankly, any competition. My son was playing a game for the first time a few years ago in between two schools, and we're driving there. I go, "Son, how you feeling?" He's like, "Nervous." "Why?" I go, "Where are you feeling it?" He's like, "Yeah, it's in my belly. It's the butterflies." I go, It's okay. It's okay. It's going to give you energy when you're on the court later." We forget that as an adult. Big board meeting, big executive meeting, tightness in the chest. It's hurting. I suck because I'm feeling nervous. I'm stupid. Immediately, all these things just come to your head. But the most basic things we learned as a child was, that's energy that's going to go into your performance. It's okay.
I love how you manage that with your son. I love how you pull on the butterflies. There is some research, and I don't have her name at hand, and Harvard professor did a study about reframing nervousness. And because if you look at it as a state, which anything in your behavior, emotions, and thoughts, or your mood at any given time is a state. And if you map what goes on when you feel nervous, and then you map what goes on when you feel excited, they're almost identical. So her study proved that people perform 17% better on sales calls, 17% better on karaoke, and outcomes on math tests were 22% better. And the one thing these people did, I kid you not, is when they felt those feelings, they would say out loud, I'm excited. I'm excited. Didn't change those physical sensations. So it doesn't but reframing them helped them to perform that much better.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely believe it. It's, is this going to help me, or is this going to hurt me? If you believe this is hurting me, you're hurting yourself, chances are it will, right? Whether you think you can or you can't, it's right.
Yeah, my favorite saying. That was my dad's quote, by the way, but I found out afterwards. No, it's Henry Ford has that affiliated with him.
Yeah. Was Henry Ford your dad, or?
No, my dad always said it, and I thought, oh, gee, that's interesting. And then it wasn't until much later in life I'm like, oh, he was just paraphrasing what Henry Ford said, and it makes so much sense. It shifts your mindset immediately. Yeah.
The mindset's very important for a lot of things. And the more work any of us can do for on ourselves, it benefits others too, right? Because that projects out when you don't do the work on yourself, and you don't have that self-awareness of what's your impact on other people. When you are nervous all the time, you're going to project it on other people, family, friends, teamwork, teammates, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So, Ann, just with all the work you're doing for people, what do you want to leave behind?
What, my legacy?
Yeah.
I want to help people really, really, really know that they really have all the things they need right inside of them, and teaching them, helping them to tap into that. So long after our coaching engagements are done, that they've learned enough skills from me, and it doesn't take long to actually recognize and start tapping into those things within themselves. So leaving people super resourceful so that they can rely on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's the clincher. That's the thing. I don't want them to need me. I
Yeah.
want them to trust themselves.
Yeah. That'd be a great world, wouldn't it be? Where everyone that passes, by us at some point, and there was a reason to, for us to meet, they come back and they come out of it and they don't need you anymore. It's actually a good thing. It's actually a
It's
good thing.
That's always the goal for me. And I
Yeah.
say that to clients up front. I love you, but I don't want to work with you forever because I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
If that's what happens. Come
Yeah.
for a tune-up. People do come for tune-up sometimes
Yeah.
a year later.
Yeah.
But to be ongoing forever and ever.
Yeah. Well, I look at it as a car, right? If you need to go to the garage every week to get something fixed, there is something wrong with that car, or the mechanic hasn't done their job, or both, right?
Yeah.
But if you go, every, twice a year for a tune-up or, oil change, that's routine. That's what it should be. So
Yeah.
we're all little cars. So a
Right?
couple more questions for you, Anne.
Okay.
If what lessons would you tell an earlier version of Anne if you had an opportunity to talk to her right now?
Honestly, the biggest one is to trust yourself. Trust those instincts.
Mm.
They never lie. They're information, but check in before you disregard it. Just find out what's there for you.
What's significant about that for you?
I had an experience in my working career where I was interviewing for a position in my department, and there were multiple candidates and I had multiple positions. Because long story short, I had several applicants from one department. So I decided to meet with that manager because I looked at their resumes, I talked to them all. They all looked equal on paper. And I was asking questions about these people. And I asked about one person. I don't even know what the question was, David, but all I know is I asked a question and her eyebrow went, and I thought I had a visceral gut reaction, visceral. And immediate those voices in my head said, don't be ridiculous, la, la, la. And I went on to hire this person.
Mm.
And they were probably a certified psychopath.
Mm.
And what I learned was, and what I would do now is if that came up again, I would just say, oh, tell me more about so-and-so. Give me more information. But I'm so grateful that experience happened. I use it in all of my workshops because it taught me that the body picks up stuff, your brain picks up stuff, and your body picks up stuff. And rather than disregard it, get curious about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. There's always when you meet some people, you know how sometimes you say there's something off about that person, and you just don't know what it is. Now, HR departments don't love to hear that because it's not proof. It could be bias, it could be something, and it is bias, right? But using coaching methods, there's ways where we can dig in deeper, right, and get to the source of where some of that intuition's going. So I think coaching teaches us to do that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Anne, one last question for you. And I've been asking all of my guests this question. What's one question I haven't asked you yet that I should have?
Well, that's a good one. What keeps me going?
What keeps you going, Anne?
Desire to help people, to give back.
I noticed your smile and how you leaned into the camera when you said that. Yeah.
And I feel it really, and I know I'm putting my hand on my heart, but I really feel it here.
Yeah.
That when a client leaves, well, it's always on Zoom now, but seeing them evolve and grow selfishly or not gives me such fulfillment.
That's beautiful.
I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing your body language right now. It's just yeah.
I'm pretty lucky. Yeah.
Well, I think folks are lucky to have you as well. Someone who's so passionate about doing this, who's living to do this, and and wants to leave this legacy. So thank you very much for everything you're doing, Ann. You're leaving the world a better place and helping
Thanks,
others.
David. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate you as well. Well, look, Ann, thank you very much for joining me here today. It's 30 minutes just flew by as if it was like 15 minutes in a coffee shop with you. And those are the best conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording now. You stay on. And thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Bye.